Good morning. As Thomas Huxley said, Richard, the good Lord has delivered them into our hands. I am the publisher of this magazine, Skeptic Magazine. By chance, and that's all it is, our latest issue is on the pseudoscience and nonsense of the whole happiness purpose movement. That is, once you believe that the universe somehow has a design purpose for us and us alone, that I can have anything I want. All I have to do is wish it, pray for it, ask for it, and it will appear. The Mercedes in my driveway, the healing of my aunt's cancer, or miracles to appear upon my wish. That's just pure nonsense. There is not a shred of evidence that any of this is actually true. It's wishful thinking. And that's the problem of thinking that the universe has some design just for us. However, I'm a scientist. I'm willing to look at new data, some evidence. So here's an example, guys. If you could have God grow some new limbs of amputees of soldiers in the Iraq War, Christian soldiers with Christian families praying for them to be healed, I would seriously consider that and changing my mind. So far, this has not happened, not even once. Apparently, God can't even do what amphibians can do in growing new limbs. If there's a purpose, surely we would see at least one sign like this, and yet we have zero. Okay, so then what is our purpose? We come from stardust. All of the elements of which we are made out of were cooked inside stars, coalesced into new solar systems like ours, and here we are, complex organisms. For 3.5 billion years, life has evolved from one generation to the next, not one broken chain in this long link. Darwin said, instead of finding this to be depressing, as our opponents think this is a grim worldview, in fact, it's an ennobling worldview. Darwin said, when I view all beings not as special creations, but as the lineal descendants of some few beings which lived long ago, they seem to me to become ennobled. It's ennobling to think how fortunate we are to be part of that 3.5 billion year long chain. We are an integral link in that. What could be more uplifting than that? But there goes more than that. We have big brains. We do many different things to contribute to this lineal descent of getting our genes into the next generation. And in fact, there's a science that studies this. That is what makes people happy, fulfilled, and feeling like they have purpose. There are 4 things you can do. 1, deep love, family commitment, commitment to another person. Even a person of the same gender, by the way. And that's okay. Thank you. I don't know if this is an issue in Mexico, but it's a big issue in the United States. To think that you would condemn somebody for their nature and deny them the opportunity for deep love and marriage just because they're different from you. How unchristian is that? And yet that is the position they take. Two, meaningful work and career. That is, doing something productive. Makes people feel fulfilled, happy, and have a sense of purpose. Not just to make money, but to actually do something in the world that makes a difference. 3, we're a social primate species. How we interact with other people matters. So the third thing you can do is be involved socially, politically, in your community. Not just your family and your extended family, but people you don't know, strangers, manning the soup kitchen, volunteering for nonprofits, helping other people in some way. This is one of the most important things that people report makes them feel better, happy, fulfilled, giving deep purpose in their life. And finally, 4, some sense of transcendency, something beyond you. Now, religion claims this as their monopoly, their exclusive rights to the idea of being spiritually fulfilled. This is nonsense. The religious worldview is so small, so medieval in its just tiny little proscenium right here, the stage on earth of which we're acting out this drama just for some grand life to come. No, that's not what counts. What counts is the here and now. If there is no afterlife, if there is no God, how important it is now what you do. Now is what it counts. Your relationships with other people now is what counts and matters. Not so you can chalk up some points for the next life, to get a bonus and move up the ranks into some special country club on high. No, what you do now matters. And I will finish mine with a quote from Helen Keller. Most of you probably know Helen Keller, who was blind, deaf, and dumb, 1930s, who found deep significance, wrote, "I know no study that will take you nearer the way to happiness than the study of nature. And I include in the study of nature not only things and their forces, but mankind and their ways. And the molding of the affections and the will into an earnest desire, not only to be happy, but to create happiness. And it all comes down to this: the simplest way to be happy is to do good. Do good."
Rabbi David Wolpe, welcome to the ring.
I think that it is wonderful and intriguing that we have such tremendous, brilliant energy, all devoted to explaining why we have no purpose. And I want to present the possibility that we do. First of all, not only because this world, this universe, because remember, the question is not do you have a purpose, but does the universe have a purpose? Not only because this universe is balanced on a knife edge. There are all the cosmological constants, which if you changed even by a fraction, would plunge us into darkness forever. Not only because the universe is so finely tuned and finely designed, but because all of you, all of us, have inside of us this remarkable mechanism that is able to comprehend the mechanisms of the universe. Because you can, with your mind, embrace that which is larger than you, than your life, than this world. Because your mind can actually discover the laws that operate the universe. Steven Weinberg, the physicist who would be sitting on this side of the table or of the boxing ring were he here, said, the more we comprehend the universe, the more meaningless it seems. But of course, that's almost a contradiction. Because you can't comprehend it if it's meaningless. Nonsense can't be comprehended. Only meaning and order and purpose can be understood. And the very endeavor of science is about the idea that the world is about something. If it's not about anything, then how could we study it? How could we understand it? And that leads, of course, to the third point. In addition to the fact that the world is fine-tuned, that we can understand it, it is that the world operates according to laws. And that's an astonishing thing that we are so used to that we don't realize how amazing it is that the world operates according to fixed laws. That alone should awaken our wonder. And wonder is a critical part of what we have to understand about this debate. Yesterday, we heard an erudite, entertaining, and combative talk from Professor Dawkins that proved that religion does not work according to the canons of science. And Michael Shermer got up and said, where is the evidence? If you would regrow a limb, I would believe it, as though, again, religion is supposed to operate like science. But I want to remind you that science is not the only mode of knowing. It's not the only paradigm for understanding. In fact, everybody here, in that which matters most to you in your life, relies on something other than science. Why do you get up in the morning? Is life worth living? Whom do you choose to love? And why do you believe love matters? Those are not scientific questions, and yet you live your life by those questions. We shouldn't think that if you can't put it in a test tube, or you can't see it in a microscope, or you can't spot it in a telescope, then it doesn't matter and it doesn't exist. We live our lives by intangibles, by poetry, by love, by dreams, by aspiration, and these things are not susceptible to repeat experiments to disproof. When we talk about whether the universe has a purpose, you can't locate that simply by doing astrophysical experiments. That's not how you find whether the universe has a purpose. Now, you might say the universe has a purpose the way the kitchen has a meal. That is, it contains all the ingredients you need. But we're not asking if the universe has purposes. We agree to that. We're asking whether the universe has a purpose. And as my colleague said, in order to believe that, you have to believe that the universe has a purposer. Somebody who generates that purpose, and we may not know what the purpose is, and we may never understand it. But remember, experiments are not the only ways of understanding. And here, I want to take the motto of this conference, and I want to extend it a little bit and suggest to you that you consider it carefully. The motto of the conference is, don't believe everything you think. And I think that makes sense, because sometimes, just sometimes, about the central questions of life, you should believe what you believe. Thank you.